Welcome back. As we continue to cover this bombshell reporting in the New York Times tonight, it is worth stressing this detail. And we quote, counterintelligence investigators had to consider whether the president's own actions constituted a possible threat to national security. No guest we'd rather have tonight, Pulitzer Prize-winning author and historian Jon Meacham. His latest work is The Soul of America. John, I was going to tell you, if you're going to clear those better angels of yours for takeoff, remember the air traffic controllers are working without salaries. I have racked my meager brain to think of situations that this country has been in, presidents we have had, anything like this. I have whiffed, and we're looking to you for historical perspective.
Well, all I got, and it's not much, is the last days of Nixon, when James Schlesinger, the Secretary of Defense, is reported to have issued orders saying that any military command that came from the White House had to be cleared by him. He was worried about tanks coming to the city, worried about Nixon barricading himself and fighting it out. And that's about it. We're in a remarkable place where, and there are many problems with Woodrow Wilson, but Wilson, before he was president, was obviously at Princeton, and he gave a series of lectures, actually at Columbia, about the presidency. And he said that the president, by law and custom, can be as big a man as he can. And I think what we're seeing again and again and again is that the incumbent is proving the president can be as small a man as one can. Whether you look at all these different fronts, and you have the sort of the emergency conversation, which is deeply important and complicated, but we've really never had, and if we have, it's classified and lost to history, at least so far, a president of the United States who is considered to be possibly an asset of a foreign government. This is what the founders were worried about in the 1790s. The Jeffersonians worried that Washington and Hamilton might be British agents. Washington and Adams and Hamilton worried that Jefferson might be a French agent. But that was in a kind of fevered political atmosphere. There was no FBI to investigate it. And I think the report in the Times tonight has, if anything, could possibly elevate the stakes of our current moment. That did it.
Our viewers know we turn to you, we turn to Michael Beschloss to ask this very question, and we ask you intellectually to turn on a dime and tell us how this will be viewed years later. I think this one, even you could have some migration in your thinking tomorrow morning, next week, looking back at this headline in the New York Times tonight.
The whole story about Russia, or Trump and Russia, as he himself wonderfully called it, is this slow-moving, unfolding story. The worst possible scenario here is we're like the Titanic steaming through the North Atlantic, and we know the iceberg is there. We're not sure how big it is, and the Carpathia won't answer our distress calls. I think that's kind of where we are. And we don't yet know how we're going to view this because we don't know how it turns out. But we have some of the best people in America trying to figure it out. And I think my understanding of the Times story is that the counterintelligence investigation was essentially taken over or merged into Director Mueller's. And once again, we've seen, I think the two most important people in America right now are John Roberts as the swing vote on the Supreme Court now, and Bob Mueller.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.